everyone. Welcome back to our TechConnect series, where we bring diverse and dynamic perspectives from all corners of the technology world through thought-provoking questions and conversation. I'm pleased to be joined today by Tim Levin, who's the practice lead for the investment management group at Morgan Lewis. Tim, thank you for chatting with us today. And for those who aren't familiar, can you just give us a quick introduction into what Morgan Lewis does and the role that you play within the firm?
Sure. Thanks, David. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. So Morgan Lewis is a global law firm. We have a bit over 2,000 lawyers worldwide in 34 offices, providing a very, very broad array of services, primarily to corporate and business clients around the world. As you said, I'm the head of our investment management practice. The investment management practice is about 185 lawyers in 17 offices around the world, mostly the world's major financial centers, where we advise clients who are, broadly speaking, in the financial services business, managers of money, institutional investors, and we provide related regulatory advice to them. They're all very highly regulated businesses around the world.
And on today's conversation, we're really going to dig into AI and some of the trends that you've been seeing. And so I'm curious, what AI trends have you observed and that you see as potentially being, some of the most transformative that'll have the biggest change to both the legal community and the work that you're doing, whether, time, budget, value. Curious your perspective on real life use of AI within your practice and in the firm.
Yeah, so I would say the areas where AI has already made life better as a practicing lawyer is in the area of user interface for things that we lawyers have used research tools like Westlaw and the like for years and years and years, but the user interface was not always the greatest. And so one thing we've already seen is that a lot of the AI, additions to those more traditional type products have improved the user experience. It makes it more efficient, just easier to get to the right result. And sort of I'd say more of an emerging area, we're starting to see more areas where AI is really going to be useful to delivering the substantive advice to our clients. You can sort of start to see AI being used to answer some legal questions, for example.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more that interface is a big part of it. I take the criticism in stride that our products can sometimes be a bit hard to use. I mean, there's a lot there, but there is this sort of great equalization. The interfaces are so natural, so human with a lot of the AI products, and so we see the same thing, as we're building and from all of the customers that are starting to use them.
Yeah, and as we get into those, I think that the at least from my perspective and from the Morgan Lewis perspective, when we use AI, we're using AI or really any technology as a way to deliver the legal services to our clients. So we're not ever, I don't think, going to be seeking to become a technology provider to our client necessarily. We want to just use these technologies in order to improve our process, improve our efficiency. And, we appreciate the user experience improvements. Our clients appreciate the user experience improvements too, that come with some of these advances. So for example, anything you can do to replace a process that has multiple people in multiple groups at the law firm and at the client, emailing documents back and forth, for example, is going to be a really noticeable improvement in the client experience, as an example.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that you're going to think about using AI to help to improve how you provide advice to your clients. At Thomson Reuters, we've had a pretty clear view that we believe that generative AI and these AI technologies are there to help augment lawyers and legal professionals, like to help you to deliver that advice. And so I'm curious, like, what is your view on how you see the relationship between you and your clients evolving with this technology in the middle and also sort of part of the service delivery?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict exactly where it's going to go, but I see something like um, what TR is doing with the co-counsel product as an example um, of the direction that I would expect these sorts of tools to go in terms of helping law firms deliver legal advice to their clients. And I'm happy to learn from my conversations with Thomson Reuters that the business model isn't to seek to replace the lawyers. The business model is to make the lawyers better deliverers of advice and guidance to their clients, basically.
I think we've certainly seen that where, there's only so much you can do with the technology now. The idea about providing advice, right, is so much more than just having the facts at your fingertips. There is so much more to that.
Yeah, agreed. But something like a co-counsel is really helpful. In order to give the advice, you do first have to marshal all the facts, really. And that's an area where we see the current type of AI, the large language model type of AI, really adding value. I'll give you an example in the investment management practice. One of the things that we do is help very, very large institutional investors, think like sovereign wealth funds or corporate retirement systems and the like, advise them with regard to investments that they're making into underlying private funds. And there's a significant volume of work there. And in order to give the client the right advice, you first have to really know what are the features and characteristics and sort of rules that govern the private fund in which the client's going to invest. And that's an area where AI, we think is going to have a lot of potential to assist with that process, as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I in some of my conversations with users and customers, it's so much about like, are you able to ask the right questions? You might have these tools which are now super powerful at inquiring and analyzing data, but they're
Mm-hmm.
only useful if you're asking the right questions and wielding them kind of effectively.
Yeah, it's and that's where the competitive, that's where, notwithstanding you might have multiple lawyers who are using, the same, AI product, you're going to have, I believe, a difference in output and a difference in the client experience and a difference in the quality. Um, if nothing else, based on the different ways that an individual lawyer uses the AI prompting process to draw the information that you want out from the AI. It's not. I think there's a misconception that you're going to just like hand a document over to an AI and it's going to tell you what you need to know about it. And you really have to you really have to lead the AI to the output that you want and the output that's going to be useful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Um, and so we spoke a little bit about interface, and I'm curious your experience from your practice group. What are the ways that you've seen professionals either, you know, be hindered by, or that they can get around the challenge of using AI without having a technical background? I think there's sometimes been a bit of a conversation in the marketplace around, well, you need to get trained properly to use AI, or, do you know how to prompt these systems, or, do you really know how the systems work? And do you see this as being a, a barrier to using some of these tools, some of this technology? What would you say you're doing to help prepare your professionals?
Well, I think it's going to be, there's going to be trial and error for sure. And different people are going to adapt to it at different rates. I would say that in the legal profession, at least, we're starting from a pretty low baseline. Even even having a conversation about user experience, I'm sure, is that in the same way that a Thomson Reuters person thinks about user experience. Lawyers and lawyers in law firms and lawyers in house. Our user experience historically has been, an email or maybe a memo or an opinion that gets, emailed back and forth. So, even the most rudimentary, sort of focus on user experience is going to be an improvement. I think that we're going to have to just sort of experiment with it, and see what works. I mean, we are all as lawyers, universally almost, accustomed to, dealing with working on a PC setting, or on a laptop, user, sort of framework. So, the tools I think are there, and it's just going to be a matter of getting the practice.
I mean, I can certainly share from the Thomson Reuters perspective that our philosophy, at least in building our products, is to make it so that you don't have to worry about the AI that's behind it. That you don't have to be like a prompt engineer or, to have deep understanding of the technology. What we want to try to do is create the layer on top of that that is designed for the lawyer and for the user. I mean, when we think about the design of the systems, we're trying to figure out what is the natural way that a lawyer would ask the question or that they would expect the response to look like, or that the interaction that they would expect in their mental model. And so that's certainly what we see our job as doing. So, we're the ones to do the prompt engineering, right? And, we just need to know what are the questions and the types of analysis that our customers really want to do.
Yeah, I think that goes hand in hand with the use of these technologies being themselves a something that's going to force lawyers to think more about the process around how they do things. Whether it's whether it's helping a client manage a portfolio of trademarks around the world, or it's, as I mentioned, helping clients review and assess risk with regard to making their investments in underlying private funds. What we found at Morgan Lewis, at least, and I serve on a committee at Morgan Lewis that is responsible for evaluating sort of the time and commitment from either money or internal knowledge management resources to various projects, and sort of giving these projects the green light or not. And we see a lot of areas where our lawyers come to us with a proposal, and they're basically saying, I need a technology to do X. And when you look below the hood, actually, a lot of times, I mean, really very often, the answer is you don't need a technology. You need to rethink your process. And then once you rethink your process, we've got the technology that's going to help you do this better already.
I think we see that a lot as well, where there is a need to sort of reinvent, or there might be new approaches thanks to the technology which is now available to people.
Yeah, I mean, using AI, for example, is going to require giving some real thought. If you want consistent output, and consistency of output is critical. If you want consistent output, you're going to have to be very process driven in the way that you're thinking about the prompting of the AI, for example. The different steps at which you do particular things.
So I know that Morgan Lewis and Thomson Reuters, we've recently announced this partnership that we've been working together, or that we're working together on. We've obviously been working together as companies for ages, for probably decades now. And so I'm just curious, from your perspective, can you speak to the importance of this partnership and why Morgan Lewis has chosen to work more closely with Thomson Reuters?
Yeah, we're very excited about partnering with Thomson Reuters. There are a number of reasons for that. I'd say one, as you know, we've got, as a firm, we've got very, very long and deep experience working with Thomson Reuters, and so you're very much a trusted partner in that regard. I think we're really enthusiastic about both Thomson Reuters' willingness, but also its commitment to really investing in this area. In the investment management space, our clients who are oftentimes investment managers and have financial products that they develop and market. In the investment management space, you often hear somebody talk about an institutional quality product. And by that, what they mean is putting together a product that is of sufficient sophistication and robustness, essentially, and supported by sufficient resources that a sophisticated institutional investor would want to buy it, right? And because they're trying to minimize their risk as well. And we sort of see Thomson Reuters as that sort of institutional quality service provider. I don't think, I'm sure, the proverbial, two guys in a garage are probably going to come up with some interesting things. But, from our perspective, where, our clients are the most sophisticated and highly regulated, think global banks, for example, government agencies and the like, they want to know that their counsel are not, partnering with sort of service providers and partners that don't meet that sort of institutional quality threshold.
Well, I really appreciate that. And, I think of our teams as sometimes, at times, being, people in much better garages with better tools, right? Um,
Yeah.
but in all seriousness, from my perspective, we can't build products unless we have close partnership with our clients,
Yeah.
especially given how quickly things are moving. We need to be hand in hand with clients, users, to be able to make sure we're building the right thing. Because if we go off into into a closed room for a few months and come up with something, it's just not likely that we're going to meet the need. We need to have clients and users right there in the room. And so I know with that, it looks like we're out of time for today. Tim, thank you again for joining. Really grateful for your time today and for your partnership. And many thanks to everyone on the podcast for tuning in today and for our conversation. We'll be back soon with another episode of TechConnect coming soon. So
Great. Thank you,
very much.
David. Really appreciate the opportunity. That went by very quickly. And we look forward to working with the Thomson Reuters team going forward, especially in the investment management practice.
Awesome. Thank you.